Hello, welcome to Unspoken History. My name is Keisha. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I want to talk about my grandmother. I want to honor the memory of my grandmother this month. Her birthday was April the 8th, 1915. If she was alive today, she would be 110 years old. She died in 1985, the winter of 1985. But before she passed away, a friend of mine and I were sitting in her kitchen. We were conversating, and I believe we were conversating about, we were upset about something white people did or something like that. And she overheard us talking about it. Like, she was always listening to our conversations. I just didn't know she was. And so she overheard us and she said, Keisha? And I said, yes. And she said, you better leave these white people alone. And I was like, she said, there's something wrong with white people. And she turned around and walked away. She never expounded. She didn't tell me why she felt that way, what had happened to her to make her come to that conclusion. She didn't tell me any of that. And then before I was writing the book, well, before I actually wrote the book, it was just kind of, I was gathering the information. It was being gathered for me in my head, like, look for this and look for that and look for this. And so I was doing a lot of prayer and meditation. So I would sit for hours in silence and just wait, like, Lord, tell me something, give me some direction, because everything out here is screwed up. It was twisted, upside down, inside out, just crazy, everything to me. So I had to relearn everything again. But one thing that the conclusion that I came to was that my grandmother said this because of what happened to her parents. So, and I didn't know this until, like I said, I was doing some prayer and meditation time, and I was sitting there with my eyes closed, and I don't know how long I had been sitting there, but I saw this scene of a woman falling down a well. She, I could see like her dress and her arms, and she was looking up, and she was like, she was trying to grab onto something as she was falling, but she was on fire. And so this popped up in my thoughts, and I said, man, Lord, who was that? And some said, that was your grandmother. And I kind of shook a little bit, kind of came out of my little quiet time, and I was like, okay, my grandmother. Well, it was maybe 3 or 4 years after that. Yeah, I want to say when I went down, it was 2021 when I went to see my aunt. This is my grandmother's daughter, not the oldest, she's the second oldest. So I'll go to visit her, and we're sitting at the table talking, and she comes out and says, my grandparents were set afire by white people. And I just looked at my husband because I had told him about what I saw. And that confirmed it for me that was what I saw when I was in prayer. Somebody burning, and something told me that was my grandmother. So my aunt confirmed that was my grandmother. And then I still couldn't wrap my head around, okay, her parents were set fire. That still shouldn't be a reason to think that there's something wrong with white people. And so she was an infant, so she never got to know her parents. After the fire, the relatives went over to my great-grandparents' house and found the babies. My grandmother is a twin. She has a twin sister. They found the babies, and so one family took one baby and another family took another baby, and that's how they grew up. So, I mean, I can see people telling you the story, well, they burnt your parents for nothing. I mean, they didn't do anything wrong. But my grandmother lived through the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. If you're a Negro in America over 50, you could understand what I'm talking about. Or even a white person in America that was here, you would know what I'm talking about. So I guess she just had never met any white people that were nice, that were good. Like, must have been the white people she worked for, the white people she encountered at the store, the white people at the doctor's, the white people when you go in to pay your bills. Maybe she just encountered all wicked white people. Because by the time I was growing up, it was okay for the nice white people to now show that they care about everybody and not just white people, right? For those for those people in America that really do care about everyone because they have the love of the Most High in their heart or whatever. My grandmother stuck to herself. So she stuck with her friends, her people, doing her thing because of the experiences that she had. So it just took me a long time to understand the statement because I didn't grow up in the world that she grew up in, only partially. So I'm still feeling the effects of that world. I'm still fighting for a full idea of freedom, but I didn't have to encounter the things she did in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, and seeing these things happening, things being destroyed, people being killed, and what was the law? Where was the law to vindicate or to say, well, we're subjects of this country, you're supposed to protect us, but not if it's a white person doing it. Well, then you have no protection. And so I can just imagine what her mind was like growing up with this idea. Even in the 80s, I felt like nobody was there for us. Like, people can just do whatever they want to us. And I grew up in Michigan, so I saw the police shoot down a whole bunch of people, unarmed people. So, and then no repercussions. Oh, well, they're innocent. And this is what you show. This is what you show us on TV, is that anybody, not just the police, anybody can shoot you and say, I fear for my life. That was a whole big thing going on for a long time. So I'm just saying that to say that my grandmother experienced a lot. She had to see a lot, watch a lot, absorb a lot of this horrible treatment of people after slavery. Now, you hear people saying all the time, well, we shouldn't have to, that was slavery. That was a long time ago. Yeah, it was. But some of these people never let it go, and therefore we're still living under slavery type laws. So I blew it off because I was like, you know how you do that when your parents tell you something, you don't understand it, so you just think they don't know what they're talking about. It's because your brain can't understand it yet. So when the other day when I thought about it, I was like, no, I didn't think about anything. It was brought back to my attention. And I said, so my grandmother didn't tell me that her parents were lynched when she made the statement. If she had said to me, leave these white people alone, there's something wrong with these white people. They'll lynch you for nothing. They lynched my parents. That's why I had to grow up. I would have understood a little bit more, but she didn't say that part. She just said, you better leave these white people alone. Something wrong with these white people. And yeah, I understand that her opinion is based off of her life's experience with these people. And back then, you're not going to be openly friends with Negroes. You might be able to be friends with some of them other black folks, like, the ones in the NAACP, the ones graduating with doctorate degrees, while the other ones over here still trying to figure out how to get to school so they can learn to read, so they can get a job. So no, I'm saying my grandmother, the experience that she had was that of negativity, a constant negativity from these other people. So that's why she said what she said. I just didn't get it because my mind wasn't mature enough to understand what she was saying. And she also didn't finish the story by not telling me about the lynching part. And so, yeah, I am focusing on my grandmother today. So with that, I'm having a little private birthday party for my grandma. And I'm going to eat some cake because like I said you'll see in the video, I did not get to eat cake with my grandmother on her birthday, ever. I never knew when her birthday was. It would just come and go. I was living my life, running around, enjoying, eating the cake that she was baking. Never knowing when it was her birthday. So today we're going to have a birthday party for Miss Ethel Bernard and her twin sister, Ethel. Their name was Ethel and Ethel. Yes, it was. That's what people named their kids in the early 1900s. All right, I'll be back. I'm going to get the cake. Hi, I'm going to bake a cake. I'm baking a cake for my grandmother's birthday. Today is my grandmother's birthday. She's not here. She's been gone for 40 years, but April 15th is her birthday. And I never ate cake with my grandmother on her birthday. So, I also didn't know how to bake cakes when I was little. I didn't learn any of those magnificent skills she had at cooking. I watched a little bit. I remember a few things, but I can't make anything like she did. So this is a box cake. It's not homemade. And I am baking a half a cake because I don't want to eat a whole cake. All right, so I measure out half the ingredients, cook half one time, and then I cook the rest another time. So this is the half that's left from the last time. And it says 3 eggs on the box, but I only put 1 egg in a half cake. I'm not going to be putting all them eggs in there. And I'm not going to crack an egg and get a half egg. So I use 1 and it works. One egg, half cup of water, and 1/4 cup of oil. That's how I make a half a box cake. Whip that there egg up. I know some of you probably have a blender or what you call a mixer. But yeah, my mother-in-law used mixers. My grandmother used a fork. So I was visiting with my aunt. She's my last living relative of my grandmother's, my grandmother's last child alive. My father's passed away and her sister passed away. So I went and I was so excited. I thought I was gonna get some knowledge. Like, tell me what you learned how to cook from grandma. She said, girl, I was working on my career. I wasn't trying to figure out how to cook. I was so disappointed when she told me she couldn't cook. She's 84. And she's been doing her thing, okay? Partying, having a good old time, working, traveling. She knew how to eat, she just didn't cook it. So we went to the store and she bought stuff to make a salad. And I think we had some other vegetable with chicken. Hey, she didn't have to fix it. Still good for her. So she looked good and she's doing good at her age. However, we still would like to know, we would both like to know how to make some of that food that her mom and my grandmother used to make. All right, I think that's good. I don't want to beat it too much. Sometimes those cakes get too fluffy, I think, when you beat them too much. I'm no expert, but anyway. So let me turn on my little oven. I'll be right back over there in a minute. Can't show you everything because my camera don't go everywhere. All right, so I'm gonna make cupcakes because I'm using a little toaster oven. And I can just put all of these little cupcakes in my little easy bake oven cake. I use these. It's easier for cupcakes. Alright, last piece. Put that in there, put that in there, put that in there. Okay. And then I take this little cup here and I pour them in. That might be a little big. Alright, so let's use this here little thing. And I don't fill these up too much because, ooh, that seems like a lot. Because it overflows these little pans. And then you have cake all over the side. And I don't want cake on the side. So I'll just let that sit in there like that. These will too. If you fill them up too far, you will have cake everywhere. All on the sides. Oh, that's too much. Too much. See, this is what happens when you got amateurs in the kitchen. Well, not amateur cooks, but amateur bakers. I am an amateur baker, but I would rather bake my own stuff than eat the other stuff because it's starting to taste artificial to me. Maybe because it's always been artificial. But anyway. The stuff that I thought was hard to do. Oh my God, I can't bake a cake, that's hard. Oh my God, I can't bake bread, that's hard. None of it is hard. It just requires your time. Spend a little time. You're doing that thing in 5 minutes or less. Well, maybe not 5 minutes, but I want the rest of that out of there. So my grandmother used to take and bake her cakes, and then when she got done, I liked to lick the bowl. I don't know if anybody remember licking the bowl. I like to lick the bowl, and I couldn't understand why this woman would scrape all of the cake out of the bowl so I would hardly have any to lick. I never understood that as a kid. I do now. It was raw egg in it. She was trying to save me. But I didn't care. I wanted more raw egg. Because that raw cake was good. But she would clean that bowl, and I mean clean it. I ain't even got that kind of spatula. Mine is leaving traces behind. Hers didn't. All right. Got them all poured. That one there gonna overflow. Okay, put these in the oven for about 18 to 20 minutes and then they'll be done. I'm gonna make some icing to go on top and then I'm gonna celebrate my grandmother's birthday. Okay, so I didn't mention you can make a cake vegan. I made a cake vegan before. I used egg replacer. It has certain ingredients in it that will help bind the cake. And instead of oil, you can use applesauce. So you can make that a nice vegan cake and it'll still be good. Still got sugar in it. All right, I'm gonna make some icing. Let me see. Oh, I hope I got enough of this powdered sugar. Got 2 little bags. And I got some chocolate. Make your own icing. Gonna have to find a baking expert to find out how to make vegan icing. Well, I guess if you use oil instead of butter. Well, I'm using, this is vegan, I guess. This is margarine. Okay? All right, so bring this over here. Move this over there. I'm gonna try, I'm always creating stuff to make a pecan patty. Pecans and brown rice and some herbs. See how it turned out. Okay. Give me my little bowl here. I used to follow the instructions exactly for the icing, and every time I get a different consistency or whatever, so I know what goes in it. I put it in how I want to put it in. I'm not good at following the instructions. I guess I be wanting to get to it too fast. But anyway. I don't like the way that bowl smells. Get the other stuff out. If it still smells like what was in it before, then it's not clean. To me. My mom used to tell me that. Still got stains and it stink, it ain't clean. Much better. Okay. Could put that in my pocket. All right, how much is it? I'm doing just enough of these little cupcakes I got right here. So I'm gonna use 1 cup, 1.5 cup of that, and then 2 tablespoons of chocolate, because I don't want it to be too chocolatey. But I like to melt this first. I'm gonna use 1/2 of that. So that's 4 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. 1/2 of this. And I'm gonna let it melt on top of the oven. It melt, and then I'll add the other stuff, the other ingredients in. Okay, I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator. I don't need that no more. I'm done with that. And now, the cupcakes are ready to come out. Turned out nice. Set it over there. Just so you can see them. And then this one, the Easy Bake Oven Cake, is the one I'm going to eat for my grandma's birthday. Celebrating my grandma today. Okay, so I usually just take these out so they cool faster. Take these out of this pan. I'm gonna stack it like a cake, you know, like an Easy Bake Oven cake. And that one out. Take these out. Don't grab that with my hand. All right. All right. Where did I put my bowl? The one I just wanted to make sure was off. Okay, so while I'm waiting on that butter to melt, I'll be right back. Okay, let me get my apron back on. So let's make this icing. I don't even know how this is going no more. It's weird. And there it is. Okay. I don't know where this thing come from, but it works. All right, put this on so I don't splash powdered sugar and chocolate powder all over my spring dress. Okay, so I'm gonna do half of what I normally do for a whole cake. See what I'm saying? I am very messy in this kitchen. No, I'm not doing a perfect measure. 1 and a half. About a half. Okay. Then we're going to put our little chocolate in there. This is half of a third, so that's about 2 tablespoons. Really, it's fourth is 2 tablespoons. Put a little bit more. So it looks like 2 tablespoons went in there. And then I'm going to stir it up again with this here fork. So I just called my Aunt Mabel. She is the last living relative of my grandmother that I told you. She turned 115 this April. It wasn't April 15th, it's April 8th. So I'm a few days late. However, we still gonna celebrate. Okay, so I'm gonna get all of that. Oh, I need some vanilla. I got some of this imitation stuff. You know, I can't tell you how much of this stuff to put in there because whenever I follow the instructions and I use the amount of vanilla extract and stuff they tell me to use, I don't like the way it tastes. So, I kind of got to like feel it out. Maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. But don't do the same thing with vanilla extract because it's extract. That's imitation. When I use extract, I'll be using drops. Because that stuff is strong and it'll mess up the whole flavor. So, you ain't an expert like me on baking. I can cook though. Just not sugar. Alright, so I'm going to add a little water. You know, a few drops. Supposed to drop a little water in there. You know, on the back of the sugar bag, the powdered sugar bag, it has instructions. I think it's about 5 drops. One of these. No, there's instructions on that one. It's this one. Good. So one of these bags, if you buy your powdered sugar, they will have 2 icing. And that's how I learned how to make the icing. I used the powdered sugar or this. I think there's one on here too. Yeah, it is. So when you add a little water, it's just going to loosen it up a little bit because, you know, it's kind of thick there. And I think I might need my last little drop. Okay. And stir, stir, stir. You got icing. Just enough for my cupcakes. So I called my aunt and I told her, you know, I used to eat grandma's cake all the time. But I never ate cake with grandma. I never celebrated her birthday. I don't even remember her even saying it was her birthday and she'd eat a cake or nothing. No, I don't remember anybody coming over saying happy birthday to grandma. And I was always there. So she was used to being the one to bake the cake. All right, I'm going to taste it. Let's see what it tastes like. That's a lot. That's good. So you can't buy this one in the store. You gotta put your love in your cake and icing. I know all your food. All right. That's icing. I'm just gonna drop it on there. It's not nothing fancy. I ain't got that little squeezy thing to squeeze it out in a nice little swirl. Nope. But I got this here spatula. And I can just slap it on. And boom. So all I gotta do. You ain't gotta make cupcakes look pretty if you don't want to. Just gonna eat it anyway. So I'm gonna stack this one on that one. Actually, I shouldn't have did it this way, but that's all right. I might not stack it. I might just eat it like that. Put some on these. See how quick that chocolate icing was? You ain't gotta go through all that other trouble. Oop. I told you I was messy. Okay. Go all the way around the thing. I'll see, I don't be caring how this icing looks. It's the ugly cupcakes, the ones that taste good. Here I go again. Spilling it. Spilling it. Okay. And then I'm gonna go back to my other spot and we're gonna sit down and talk about my grandma. Because my grandma told me something 40 years ago before she died. And it took me 40 years to figure out what she meant and why she said it. So, see you in the other room. Hi. Today I baked a cake because I wanted to celebrate my grandmother's birthday. My grandmother's birthday was April the 8th. I'm a little late. It's okay. Her birthday was April the 8th, and she used to bake cakes all the time from scratch. Of course, this was a box cake. However, I still baked it, and I made this icing, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. But I baked this cake in honor of my grandmother because she used to bake me cakes all the time, and I would eat them all the time, but I never ate cake with her. So her birthday would come around, I never even knew when it was. It would just come and go, and I don't remember any birthday parties, anybody coming over with cake and ice cream. I don't remember any of that. So I thought about my grandmother would have been 115 years old if she was alive today. So I am going to celebrate her birthday with cake. I'm going to eat a piece for her, and I'm going to eat a piece for me. Okay? Okay, I'm back. I got my little cake. I got my little soy milk. Okay, now this is a small cake. Of course, I'm not going to eat, well, I could have at some point, but I'm not going to eat 2 normal sized pieces of cake. I'm going to eat 2 easy bake oven pieces of cake. Right? Because I just can't do it no more. All right, so I cut it in 4. Happy birthday to my grandma, if she was here, to her memories, to everything that she taught me, tried to teach me, and how she took care of me. Because I'm a grandma now. And I love my babies the way my grandma loved me. Okay? This piece is for my grandma. Put the whole thing in there at once. I didn't bring them napkin. Need a little milk. It's all right. One more piece. I ain't gonna stick the whole thing in my mouth this time. That was too much. But it's good. See my little top cake, bottom cake, sorry. Little icing in the middle. Turned out good. Thank you, Grandma, for helping me love cake. Yeah, that was nice. So, what I want to say is that my grandmother told me when I was about 14 years old to leave white people alone because there's something wrong with white people. That I couldn't wrap my head around that. It took me for 40 years. It's been 40 years. I'm just not really getting it. It was because of the experience that she had. She didn't tell me that her parents were lynched. So my grandparents were set afire. My grandparents were set afire by white people when my grandmother was an infant. My grandmother has a twin sister, so there was 2 little infant girls hiding somewhere on the property when the relatives got there after the lynching happened. So they went and found the babies. My grandparents had hid their children. I guess they knew the white people were coming. They hid the babies, and then the relatives were able to recover the babies afterwards, after the thing was over, and, raised the children separately, but they raised them. And so that is her first experience with white people, is that when she was an infant, her parents were lynched. So, and then growing up, born in 1915, growing up in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, she felt all of it. So I can see why she told me that. I can understand that now, but I didn't then. And also, I have met plenty of white people. Well, I ain't gonna say plenty, but I've met a number of white people that are not, and they're not what she met. And the reason being is not because people are better today. That's not how evil works. Evil don't go from being evil and then say, I think I want to get better, and I'm just gonna be less evil. Evil people are just evil people. So she had to experience all that, and I necessarily didn't, but I needed to see from her point of view. Like, it's taken me all this time to figure out what she was saying. And her experience brought her to that conclusion. Her experience in America brought her to that conclusion. And so since people were not being, because they would lynch a white person, be over there with them Negroes too long talking about helping them, and you're going to go up from the tree just like the black folk will. So I know that it was hard for even white people to even pretend like they liked Negroes, because then they'll get, society will mistreat them too. And so when it became okay, like, you're not gonna, I guess people got to the point where they didn't care, no more after the 60s and 70s, and they just start showing out, hey, yeah, I like this brother and this sister, and it doesn't matter what color they are. People were able to do that without being ostracized, without being kicked out of society. Like, oh, you're the N-word lover, so no, we don't want you over here or whatever. So then I was able to meet different kind of people because that restraint was gone. And I met a really, 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 really nice lady, and I still love her to this day because she was so kind to me. All of it, these were middle-class white women, and I was working at the hospital. It was a summer job, greatest summer job I ever had. And so they were physical therapists, occupational therapists, physical, speech, and occupational therapists. And the lady that I work with, she was their scheduler. She scheduled all the appointments for the whole department. And I would sit and eat lunch with these ladies, and I promise you, I never felt like I was a little black girl sitting amongst them. They didn't treat me like I was 40-something like they were, but they just talked about their lives. What's going on with their kids, what's going on with this one and the husband, and this vacation. And it didn't seem like they were trying to, they weren't trying to make me feel less, like, with their lives. They were just living. They had to come to work every day, just like everybody else, work, try to get their kids to go to college. And so I learned so much. I never said anything. I just would sit there and listen to them because I'm very curious I like to listen, especially older people tell stories. And so I would just look. And they were some of the kindest. And I did not meet not one person in that whole department that made me feel like I was a little black girl. No, they made me feel just like everybody else. And so my grandmother hadn't experienced that, and I had. And so that's why I couldn't wrap my mind around the idea, leave those people alone because there's something wrong with white people. Okay, well, she was right. There's something wrong with white people, and there's something wrong with brown people and Asian people and all kinds of people who don't let the Holy Spirit rule their hearts. They're serving those other gods. What are they going to do what those gods say? When you serve the Most High, you do what He said. And therefore your heart will shine out differently than other people. So, since this little cake is so small, I want to say thank you to the memory of my grandmother again for all of the information that she shared with me. I'm a grandmama now. And I'm always trying to tell my grandkids stuff that they ain't ready to hear too. I didn't know I was going to eat it all. I thought I was just going to eat 2 pieces. And no, I think my grandma was saying, eat it all, Keisha, eat it all. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you next video. Bye-bye. Mm.